Alright everyone, bringing you in on this one. We have a 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander Sport. It was brought into here for no headlights, no low beam, no high beam. Parking lights seem to work, and customer is a little bit confused here because it's a 2024. Vehicle was not in an accident or anything at all, so something new and interesting. So we'll look at this one together. I've already started my diag on this here, and just that way I could have some of the stuff out here and try to beat the dark. But yeah, I'll bring you guys through a couple of the things that are here. First off, using the top-down one today. This will be available to the public soon. Pretty decent scan tool. A couple of things here that I'll point out to you. I'm using the auto VIN function right now, where it's going to read the VIN and hopefully be able to identify. But as you can see here, it says failed to decode VIN. The VIN is unidentified. Do you want to input again? The answer to that is no. No, thank you. I don't. I'd rather just go in here and I'd rather manually enter it in. So we're going to come in. I'm sorry I put you out of focus there. 2006. MMNA is Mitsubishi Motors North America. The other ones here don't apply. And we're going to come down. It's an Outlander Sport. And as you can see, it only goes up to 2023. I think we're going to be safe here. Now, you'll be out here on a vehicle and it's going to ask you a question like this here, where it's going to ask you for an engine code. And for this engine code, I think it's important that you know where that would be. In this passenger door frame right over here, you're going to have a metallic plate. That metal plate will have a model designation code that's on it, and that model designation code or chassis code will be the one that you'll be able to use up here, and it also has your engine code. So our engine code on this one is the 4B11, which this thing does not want to stay focused. Then we're going to have to choose that actual chassis code. So this is the chassis code I was referring to, and in this case here it's this XTM HLZ2M. And now that we have it there, we're going to go in and hit confirm. We'll run a scan on this vehicle. Click the auto scan button. Now in most cases this one will bring up topology for us. In this case it does not, and I do not know why the focus here keeps on going in and out, folks, so my apologies. But we'll let this zip through the scan. Shouldn't take too long. This car is pretty basic. No sunroof, no fancy gadgets really. Does have heated seats though, which is kind of nice. I might actually say that I bumped them earlier as I wasn't paying attention. No complaints though. And you would hope that with headlights not working, and I'll just show you, just to show you guys here, I'm going to flip this switch all the way up here to on, and you'll see that only those little halo lights are the ones working. We actually don't have headlights on. So try to buy us some time here as this thing goes speeding along. Now, if you're a person who watches my my channel, you already know I'm not into editing or anything else. I'm just here to kind of give you an idea of my diagnostic process and how I get to be able to fix things. Alright, so everything here was all scanned, and every module says normal, no TDCs. I knew that right away because what it will do here on this tool and most top-down tools is it takes any one of the modules that has a code and puts it up front. So it'll be right the first one that you see up top. So in this case here, I don't know which one actually controls, or if I was just getting to this car, I wouldn't know what actually controls the headlight. There is no specific headlight control module, and there's nothing here that says potential body control module or automatic leveling headlamp. So in that case, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot over to a wiring diagram. And when I get into a wiring diagram for this, which we already have printed up, pulling up the headlamps and using all data, using an OE diagram, looking up here, it sends me out there to a headlight control, headlight relay, low, high, and then sends me over to a headlight control unit, which is actually part of the headlight assembly. I have my switch over here, and I'm noticing already up at the top there it says ETAX ECU. So we do have an ETAX ECU up here, and I saw that when we were scrolling through. We're going to go to ETAX, and it says electronic timer alarm something something. We don't care. What we know is it says in some way it's tied into the headlamps. So let's go in this module first and start looking for some data, and we'll scroll along. So we do have headlamp high. We do have, did I see fog lamps in there? Front fog lamp. Our tail lamp. Just that way we know it's actually being commanded. Actually, you know what? Just a little tip. Here's something you could do. Grab a hold of this switch, especially if it's getting dark out. Start turning it on and off and look for a change in the dimming, and I hope that comes up well on camera. But look for a change in the dimming on there, and then also look for lighted switches. That will tell you that the ETAX is most likely getting a headlight switch input, and we can confirm it here, but it'd be a good idea to know that something as simple as that, even if you don't have a really fancy scanner, can give you an idea in the direction to go. Sometimes it's the easy stuff that we overlook. So let's go with that. Oh, by the way, you can also do a search up here and do headlamp. So here's your headlamp switch tail, headlamp switch off, dimmer auto, so we could actually see all the positions if we wanted to. We're going to do these. These are 5 out of 6, so they're a little bit small on here, but we're going to go ahead and I'm going to, right now the headlights are in the, they were in the park position, or auto position, excuse me. So the first click is auto, and as you can see, auto does engage. It is getting dark out here, so these things should be turning on, I would think, or at least very, very close to it. I'm going to go up to the next one, which is going to be our parking. So that's going to say headlamp switch tail. Then I'm going to move up to headlamp low, or headlamp switch on, and as we can see, it does see the input here. And so I'm also going to go to high now. I'm going to pull back on the dimmer switch, and one click on. You can see the dimmer switch clicks on. It's only a momentary switch, so don't be fooled by that. Notice that the headlamp on stays on. The headlamp dimmer is only a momentary. So that's how we're switching it on and off. There's no click into position. It's just a momentary switch that turns it on and off. But again, still no lights. So all of that's confirmed. Now we just need to know what this ETAX module is looking for in order to get this done. And this is kind of where I almost stopped and said, let me go ahead and get the camera. And again, I try to get through these cars quickly because if you're not familiar, I have many, many jobs. But anyhow, so I want to know, first things first here, I know that I have my inputs coming in. So my first guess is that I am probably looking at something here that's controlling this headlight relay, and most likely going to be the ETAX ECU. So I'm going to look down here at the bottom there, and I see a green and violet wire, which are the controls here and here for this relay. I want to know where they go to. So there is little letters on there and little numbers on there, kind of hard to see, but there's a 3A and a 3B. So moving down, I'll go to the next diagram. Do I see a 3A and a 3B? I do not. I'm going to toss that one aside. Here's the other page. Right there, headlight relay, low and high. So I got a violet wire, pin 6, and a green wire at pin 13. That's going to be for my high and my low. We're going to focus in on low because I don't think we need to go too far. But I have an ETAX module that's controlling all of this, and my ETAX module I know nothing about. So it tells me connector 410, and the nice thing about a factory diagram is they do tell you at least the positions of the pins. So if you're looking down here, Nissan does the same. Some manufacturers will actually give you a picture of the connector so that you know at least what the connector is going to look like. So we know it's 16 pins, and we know it's going to be called C410, and it's going to have a green and a violet. So first off, what is the ETAX ECU? Go to removal and installation, and as I look at this, it's a fuse box. So the inside fuse box on this thing is a actual module. which is kind of where we're at nowadays. I think everybody would agree. This is what we're seeing the most of, is that we're no longer just looking at a simple fuse box. Now we have smart fuse boxes, central junction boxes. We have this electronic time alarm control. I mean, it's a body control module, right? Let's just call it that, or call it a TIPM, or call it whatever you want, but it's a fuse box with a module. So knowing where it is, great place to get to. I'm already set up down there so we can actually make access to it for the video. And I'm going to move all these wiring diagrams out of my way. And then what you'll want to do in service info is grab something like this. And if they have it, it's fantastic. So we actually get a look of the front of the ETAX module and pulling it up, and we actually get the connectors and the locations that are on there. So C410 says the front wiring harness. If you'll see it there, it's the top right corner of the triad, and that is the one that we're looking for. We'll also take note that the connector lock is at the bottom. So knowing this, I know that my connector is going to be upside down from the view that they just gave me in that wiring diagram, where it said C410 in this direction. So I'm actually looking at it now like this. So C410 will be laid out in this way. My violet wire is supposed to be pin 6. Well, I can confirm that I am tied into a violet wire at pin 6 right now, and this is where I stopped. So using the meter that I hate the most right now, I know it sounds silly, but I actually had a battery rupture in my other one. So I am looking at that wire right now. I have 14.3 volts. Which, if you think about it, I should have, because my headlight switch right now is currently in the off position. So with it in the off position, I should see 14.3 volts. What I should also see, though, is when I put my headlight switch into the on position, which I'll do right now, I should see it go to ground, and I do not. I see no switch to ground here on this input wire. So, knowing that, I can do a simple thing. I'm already tied into the wire, and I know it's only a relay control. We bring out our best friend, the test light. We're going to take our test light, which is already hooked up to ground, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to touch the pin that I'm currently tied to. And if I look out there, I now have headlights, and I remove it, my headlights are off. What that tells me is the rest of my circuit going out, my headlight relays, all of that are actually good right now. So I've already verified that this wire here is good. I do the exact same thing again on the headlight high, which would be 13, which I'd have to get a light over here again to see right now. But I can tell you that, the fact that I have low, already bad. Remember I said, if we focus in on one, we're likely to find the same thing. This module has everything that it needs. It thinks it's turning it on. It doesn't even actually set a code. What that means is when it's looking at this control, if we look at how it's controlled here, and it comes down and it goes down into this little headlight backup circuit that comes down, I can tell you that this is where we're failing. So we're unable to take that and actually pull it down to ground. You'll see this is an ignition switch feed that comes in. Where does it tie into ground? Well, internally. There's nothing else there. There's no other tie-in directly to ground that allows it to actually turn this on. The ignition switch circuit is there. It goes into IG1 relay, which also gets turned on internally in the ETAX ECU. Our ETAX ECU on this one has failed. So, at a quick call over to Mitsubishi, earlier on, when I just sat there and I first pulled up this ETAX ECU, before I found the removal installation process, by the way, which was a little bit hidden in there. AllData actually updated that today for us specifically, because it wasn't in the service information. So they got it in within 30 minutes. They actually put it into the service information, not knowing what it was there. And the guy says, "Oh yeah, man, we go through those things like hotcakes over here." So knowing that, I also feel a lot better here that our ETAX ECU has failed. As far as going out there and go checking any powers and grounds, again, I'm not setting a code, right? And I have something here. It's a sense circuit. that should be informing me to say, hey, there's actually a problem on this headlight circuit and there's nothing there, as well as everything else on this car works. It's the low and the high, both of which are controlled internally by this E-TACS, that have failed. Now, again, they said to me that no one had changed anything on this. I will tell you that I question it. I always question whether or not somebody has tinkered around with it and decided that they wanted to upgrade headlights, put in some LEDs in there, put in, different angel lights on there. There's always a story behind these kind of things. I hate to think that a 2024 is already failing this way, but indeed that's exactly what it looks like we're having here. So right now we're going to get a new tax ECU, and just a quick and easy, just a walk through the process of how we're going to go through the diagnosis. Remember, it starts with figuring out who's in control, right? So I have a switch input, I'm putting in a request from this headlight switch, and I want to know where's it going, who's actually controlling it. Maybe there is no module involved. Perhaps it still goes to a relay. Unlikely nowadays, but it's still possible. So the first thing is grab a wiring diagram, grab the scan tool, be ready to go, and then make sure that you actually go in there and look at the data. If you didn't have a scan tool that could read this data, how would you do it? You could go out there and look at a wiring diagram, but you really only can see the inputs coming in from this switch to the E-TACS module. You won't have any idea whether or not the E-TACS module is turning it off for some specific reason. Right now it's commanding it on. We know that it's commanding it on. It's saying, hey, I have no faults and everything is here. If you didn't have that, you'd have a much bigger problem. So note also, by the way, headlamp low on duty cycle, it's always 100%. That's just what it does, where when the headlights are commanded on, it will always say 100%. So don't expect anything crazy there. There's some other versions, from what I know, on a lot of these headlights where it will, they'll actually start to dim it down a little bit. You can request things like that. So sometimes headlights are actually too bright, and manufacturers have to tone it down. So one of the things they do, they start off at 100%. There may be a reprogramming on it. The new E-TACS module might say 90%. That's not broken. That's just because they made some kind of a change to whatever highway safety told them to do. But anyhow, just again, that was quick and dirty. Again, this little meter right here, if anybody buys this thing, I'm going to tell you right now, I've already had it twice where this thing has provided some false information. It is supposed to be a scope as well. I would not suggest it. Don't waste your money on it. Not something that I would do. Anyhow, hope that helps somebody, and you guys have a great day.